Welcome to a new edition of the Famous Interviews with Joe Dimino. On this episode, we talk with Denmark-based publishing rebel and Web3 enthusiast Malene Bendtsen. She is an author and a business strategist teaching experts, teachers, public speakers, and other freedom seekers how to write, publish, and market their books. She is also the editor of more than 30 nonfiction books with an average sold 5 times the market average, and created significant business growth for the author. She is a futurist at heart, and as a business model innovator, she is determined to find new ways for authors to connect with their audience and strategically use their books to build their businesses. Enjoy this interview. It's great to meet you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
You bet. So you're a publishing rebel and a Web3 enthusiast, and before we get to that, that mission in your life, I want to know, where exactly are you coming from in the world right now?
Do you mean in geography or?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, we could start there.
I'm Danish. I live in Copenhagen.
Okay.
But I actually do call myself a part-time digital nomad. So I have a base in Denmark. I'm here half of the year, and then I do travel a lot.
Wonderful. Well, what I want to do is I want to get to, how did you survive the last couple of years with COVID? How did you get through that time period? And how has it changed the way that you approach business now?
Well, I was already working 100% online. So even though I have both international but also Danish clients, I was already working only online. So it was more on the more social aspects of my personal life. I danced Cuban salsa. I couldn't do that anymore. And also, obviously, I couldn't travel. So that was more difficult. That I had to spend a lot of time alone since I work alone. But when I travel and work, I don't feel alone. So that's why I need that. I need those impulses from traveling. So I definitely missed that. But what I actually did was I just worked a lot. I felt that it's not going to last forever, and I'm just going to make the best of it and get something done with my business.
Absolutely.
So it hasn't really changed. It hasn't really changed my business model. You could say that I did shift from selling online courses to having a membership, and I did that for more predictable income because I felt that if people are stopping some of their investments, being more cautious of how many money they're going to spend, because everybody had the time I'm a book coach, everybody had time to write a book, but my customers are solopreneurs who are teaching something, and they very much do that in companies. So that means they are public speakers, so all of their events were canceled. So they had the time, but they were worried about their income. So I did change my revenue model and created a membership instead, so that I could. I felt that everybody was likely to feel like me. It's probably better next month or the month after. I just need to survive this month and next month, and everything will be fine.
Absolutely.
And the subscription model is perfect for that, because people, if they like what they're getting, they're not going to jump off, but they might not invest in a bigger program. So I did make that change, but that's about it. But the actual author program is the same. It's still inside of the membership, available for the members. So it's not the value that's changed. It's just the revenue model.
So let's put you in front of a bunch of grade school kids, let's say second, third graders at a career day, and one of the kids asks you what you do for a living. How do you answer them?
I help people publish books. So that's a short answer. But the reason why I do that is that I feel that we have some significant problems in the world. And the current model that we are working in with very silo-based, it's not really working. So there are certain industries that are very powerful, like banking, for example, but also publishing. Our media industries, who gets to decide what knowledge is available out there? And I think that we need to work more together. We need to liberate I call myself also a knowledge liberator, to liberate this knowledge so that we all can be our best selves and all utilize all of our potential to work together and solve some of these problems. So I feel that we are in a very exciting time right now. We are amidst a huge change in how business and marketing and also publishing is working, because we are shifting from one core technology really to another one. So I'm talking about blockchain technology, artificial intelligence also. I think we've probably never changed how we work so quickly as we do right now. In these last couple of months, everything is changing.
Yeah.
So, and even some of as marketers, some of the channels that we rely on, as social media, for example, that's changing too. They're also moving to blockchain. Banks are hesitant. They are even resisting. They are ignoring. They are doing all kinds of hoops not to pay attention to blockchain, but they are paying attention. And there are also new banks coming that are using blockchain. So this is it's a big technology shift that will impact all of us. And I think this will actually help in my mission to liberate all of this knowledge, because we will be able to publish books without a big publisher, without even relying on the same distribution system that the publishers do. If we do that as independent self-publishers, we still rely on the same distribution system. So in Web3, all of these things will change. So that's very exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. So talk to me a little bit about where you were born and raised and how you got this desire to be in publishing and technology.
Well, that's two different answers. I can tell you that when I was a child, I was very much in the libraries. In Denmark, we have very good libraries. We have a lot of them. Back then we had even more, so there was one not on every corner, but close to anyone. And I spent every Friday afternoon in my library, and I carried home tons of books and read I was always reading. And when I was 8, I felt that all of the other kids must see how exciting all of these books are. So I actually made my own library at home, and I invited the kids to come and write stories in my house. And I think it probably lasted 2 weeks before I had some new idea, and nobody ever came, I think. But just to let you know that books has always been something that fascinated me. But I've had a completely different career. But 8 years ago, I went on an adventure. I've been traveling a lot, and I felt I want to travel for a longer period of time. I was like in a space in my personal life that I felt if I don't do it now, it was like everything in the universe was telling me now is the time. So I went to Peru, and it was my plan to stay 5 months in Lima, learn a bit of Spanish and do some consultancy and figure out what kind of business I wanted to start. And I thought actually it would be something with Latin America and Scandinavia. But one of my very first consultancy assignments was to find an investor for a small startup company that were digitalizing books. And they decided to invest. And also, they asked me to stay as the CEO of this self-publishing company. So I was establishing a self-publishing company in Peru, but it was covering all of Latin America. And that brought me into the publishing industry, and I got to know it from the inside. And I saw that there's so many amazing things done in the publishing, but there are also some serious problems. And there were customers that we didn't help with what they really needed. So these solopreneurs, they don't need the same thing as a person who, as a hobby, wants to write a children's book. The process is completely different. The needs are completely different. The resources are completely different. So one has time but not money, and the other has money and not time, for example. And also you don't need to, what I do is I publish nonfiction books, and you don't need imagination for that. Unless you're writing a visionary book. But most of my customers, they are already teaching their subject. So what they needed was a smarter process to get it out of their head and into a book format, and then they needed help with the strategy around it. Which book will attract customers to my business, and how should I market it? So that's some of the things that I learned while I was in Peru. But I was the CEO of that company, so it was very much a leadership role. But when I returned to Denmark, I decided to go all in on my own business and make that my business.
So who's been a role model or a hero for you in your life?
Oh, there have been so many. Most of my career, I've been either teaching or working in innovation. So this is also why I have this view on the industry, because I'm out of a business background. I'm out of an innovation background. So I see opportunities for disruption. I have a talent for see what's coming next, or when I see it maybe earlier, this is coming and this is how it might be implemented. And who are my role models? Well, they are those with they're thought leaders. It's not one specific person. When you have this innovation view on everything, when you're always looking for improvement, looking for what's new and exciting, and that's not even just a competence, it's my personality. That's how I am as a person. I can't help myself from always looking for the next shiny object. And that might be in one industry or another industry, from one person or another person. So I don't have just one person. It's new people all the time. So one person I can mention is Mike Stelzner from Social Media Examiner. He hosts every year. This year, in very soon, will be the 10-year anniversary for social media marketing world. But I've seen that he's been quick to see new trends. For example, he saw when human marketing became a thing. He also saw that Web3 would become a thing. So it was from him I first heard about this revolution happening, even though I've been working with blockchain 15 years ago, but as more in the sense of crazy innovation ideas that we could present to like something that might happen in the future. And can you imagine if this will be something? And now it turned up that it is something. And Mike Stelzner was one of those people who made me aware of that. So he's definitely an inspiration.
So if you can meet one person on the planet right now and spend some time with them, who would it be?
It would have to be Obama or Michelle Obama. Maybe even better.
That's the number one answer of all the answers. That's always number one. So when you get to the end of the day, how do you say that was a good day? How do you look back on it and quantify it as a successful day?
There would be, you could say, for me, a successful day is like a baseline. An excellent day would be a little bit more. So a successful day would be, I use the one thing principle. So every day I decide one thing that's going to be the thing that I will get done that day. And it can be a big thing, like today I'm editing half a book. So that's a big thing. But it might also just be to call my doctor, because that's what I feel capable of that day. So it can be a big thing or a small thing. But if I did my one thing and I kept the promise I made to myself, that would make it a successful day. But an excellent day, then I would also have been in some conversation that I cannot stop thinking about. Something that cued something in my brain that I'm still processing. I love learning. And, well, this is also why I enjoy so much working with these authors. They are thought leaders in their niches. So they always are a big inspiration for me. And when I've been in one of those conversations, I'm full of energy. And the third thing would be, of course, that I talk to a person that I care very much about, like one of my children or my parents or a good friend or something. But that needs to be there every day as well. But it's kind of just something that always happens.
What, as someone that loves reading, what was the very first book you read that really, like, either made you want to write or made you love reading?
You know what? I'm one of those persons who can never stop learning and and cannot stop studying. So from when I finished high school and 20 years ahead, I was in exams every year. I had 5 or 6, I don't even remember how many educations that just kept doing something more because I love it. So I cannot say it's one book, but I can mention one book that changed how I thought about my role as an entrepreneur, and that's Napoleon Hill's Law of Success. And the older one, that's kind of the basic. That's the Bible within personal development, and really everything you read in other personal development books is already in there. So it's a huge book, and it's a little bit difficult to read. Some of it is a little, especially in the first part, is a little bit heavy. But that really inspired me, that when we talk today about masterminding, as if mastermind is something new, and they did that in 1908, 10, that it's around that time. It's more than 110 years ago at least. They already figured out back then that when you bring a group of people together, they will come up with something that none of them could have done individually, and that being generous makes us happier. And there's so many basic principles about being a human and being an entrepreneur. So I've read that book a couple of times, and probably will again, because I see something new in it every time.
So everyone out there has a perception of you, your family, your friends, clients, but ultimately you live your life. Who do you think you are?
Yes. And I think that perception of me is pretty much what I am. I'm pretty sure I'm an inspiration to many people because I live my life a little bit adventurous, but also very hardworking. So I have a disciplined, structured life when I'm home, and when I travel, I also work, but a little bit less structured. I think that my ability to not just dream about doing stuff, but I have a whole list, and every year I make a list about 30 items. This year I'd like to experience this, and then during the year I need to tick off a lot of them, not all of them, but at least more than half of them, in order to feel that I was true to myself. And I think that's a big inspiration to other people. I'm adventurous. I think that's the word. Adventurous, pretty smart also. I'm also, my brain is a little bit differently wired. I'm very analytic, but also very creative in how I think. So I guess that's why I work with strategy and innovation. I see something that other people often see a bit later. Yeah.
Wonderful.
I'm also a person who prioritizes relationships really high, both my immediate close ones, but also I love networking. I need to meet new people all the time. I want to know what everyone is thinking. So I'm very outgoing, but also a bit introvert. When I was fine during COVID, I didn't have any problem working from home. I just worked more.
Wonderful.
So, yeah.
Well, Malene, thank you for taking time out today. Before we leave, I want to make sure anyone out there that wants to learn more about you and your services, where's the best place on the web for them to go?
Well, if they're interested in learning about how authorship is going to change, I have several books, but the most recent one is called Next Gen Author. And it's about Web3 and authorship and what is Web3 and all of that. And what is that new technology and blockchain she was talking about? It's a good book for understanding authorship, but also just in general to understand this shift that is happening. And that's on Amazon, so it's easy to find there, Next Gen Author. And otherwise, on my website, it's called Goosebump, because it's that exciting, .pop. And there's an opportunity for a free membership if people want to stay updated. I'm also on LinkedIn, Twitter, it's social media.
Wonderful, Malene. Thank you for taking time out today. Good luck with everything. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for tuning in to another famous interview with Joe Dimino, where we cover the world of art, literature, business, spirituality, music, and more from around the globe. If you want to hear more interviews, visit the Famous Interviews with Joe Dimino channel on YouTube. You can also find us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Thanks again for listening, and until next time.